But let's get started, right? So, Ruma, I'm going to start with you and then we'll do a round robin with the panelists itself. But how do you think the definition of customer delight has changed in the context of, all of these disruptions from tech, etc., that are happening in the industry? What does customer delight today mean to you?
So, since you said it's a panel after lunch, question ka jawab dene ke pehle, I'd like to check with the audience. It's after lunch. Have you had coffee? No? I would recommend brew from Unilever. And so it's the India is the only market where we beat Nestle, hopefully. So yeah. So just wanted to say that. So how many of you have probably know Unilever, Hindustan Unilever is our India business? Yeah. So which product? Anybody wants to go for? क्या use किया आज? Brew. Life boy से हाथ धोए क्या? What else? Close up, yes. बर्तन तो कोई नहीं धोता ना. Vim, Domex, home care is not done, right? But Lakme, many of you know the brands. दाग अच्छे हैं. Brook Bond की चाय पे रिश्ते बनते हैं. तो yeah, so we are a global organization. Now, why I took a moment for that is कि it might seem counterintuitive to your question कि customer delight क्या है. But the fundamentals still really matter a lot, right? So we are present in 190 countries. दुनिया में कितने लोग हैं? How many people are there in the world today? 7.9 billion. So we reach 2/3 of the world every day. हर दिन 2/3 of the world uses a product. आपका Lifebuoy, Lux, Vim, Domex, रोजमर्रा की चीजें in 190 countries. Why that I'm mentioning that is, in terms of product experience, the fundamentals are really important. The first is quality. Blind tests mein your product has to win. The second is customers for us are actually not consumers essentially. I'm talking about customers like, we are in a Walmart event. Walmart would be one of our customers in the retail, in modern trade markets. You would have distributors in distributive markets. So the basics of making sure that your orders reach on time, money is very important for these players. How they get paid back rapidly for the promotions. So these are very, very important. And then, of course, you build more on top, right? So I just wanted to say that. Yeah. That brilliant basics are always important.
Yeah. That means across the value chain almost, but yeah.
End to end, right? So you have invoice accuracy, etc. And then you move into the higher ladder with them to say that now, can I work with a customer to expand the category, to do new stuff? But if you don't get this pyramid right, nothing else can delight. The customers will say, and this is not me speaking, this is as per an external survey that we do, AGS survey with all the FMCG and retail. It comes back to brilliant basics first, and then only you have a right to do anything else.
Absolutely. Awesome. From that spread of SKUs to your businesses, how is it different, just in terms of how you define customer delight today?
I mean, of course, very significantly smaller scale, nowhere close to Unilever. We are a fintech startup. Some of you might have used for making an online payment, Razorpay. What we do is enable business of all sizes, small, micro, very large to the largest in the country, collect money, manage money, disperse money. And needs, I think, been always different as we go to a very, very large customer. For example, let's say a Walmart or an Amazon or a Google, Flipkart. When these customers, the kind of service they get, of course, there's a lot of human touch, and best of our account managers deliver delight and are available for any questions, problems, etc. Not just for service, but even, hand-holding, consulting, getting the best value out of the product. Now, flip side, if you move the spectrum to, let's say, the smallest of the customer. Now, at our scale, even though it's not, anywhere close to 2/3 of the world, but it still goes into, large numbers. So we cannot deliver such, consultative approach either to help unlock value or servicing to the smallest of the customer, and quite a lot of customers in the middle of the spectrum as well. I think that's where I think AI has come as one potential where it can help us deliver delight. Delight to us has been, again, very, very basics. It's not been, it's not been something which is codified, but what we look for delight is we understand that our customers are expecting ABCDS promises from us. certain functions treat as SLA turnaround time. We internally call it, happiness index promises, that if a customer wants to collect money, he or she will be able to collect money. These are measured in terms of, certain values, promises, and then you are expected to settle money to them, both the accuracy and the time. So we kind of write down these promises that our customers are expecting from us. And if we meet most of these promises consistently over time, that is how we delight. And if we surprise them in a positive way, that's how we delight. At scale, that's been the harder part for us. Doing it for the large customer through humans easy. For example, if a large customer has, let's say, a big milestone, like someone goes IPO, our account manager can deliver a cake, go to the office, and of course, those are easy way to do delight. Now, how do we do this for the smallest of the customer? When we had a customer who was a mompreneur, doing limited business, and suddenly the customer went inactive, and we found out that the customer went inactive because of something personal in their life and all. And how do we find this so that we could then deliver delight, right? So it's hard to do discovery and then to do surprise and delight. But to an extent, I still believe +1 to what I think ma'am mentioned. It's the basics and the 101. I think we have to have a very solid foundation on that. Without that, the delight cannot really cover up things. So that's been our approach as well through the life cycle of our customers.
Got it. So what's echoing is that both of you seem to be saying it's back to first principles thinking almost, right? So, okay, awesome. We'll get Gaurav to weigh in as well and then maybe move on to the next one.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I'm from Licious, and food is something which we treat as emotion, right? Food is an emotion, and we believe in an anthem called Born to Meat. Because we are into the meat, bad joke, but we are into meat and seafood. So from a customer delight perspective, I think it is very important that customer feels and customer knows that, yes, this brand understand me, is personalizing for me, understands my anxiety and is solving actively towards that, right? Like, how do you, like for pandemic, when pandemic happened, right? How just the delivery speed is not important, right? How the other things came to the forefront, which is with respect to trust, with respect to safe deliveries, with respect to hygiene conditions, right? How do you build that kind of a supply chain end to end, right? And deliver what customer asked for, right? With the high quality protein, right? From farm to fork, right? How do you do that, right? The industry understands -18, which is frozen food category, or something which is at a room temperature, but how you can build a end-to-end farm to fork, 0 to 4 degree, ESG compliant supply chain, right? I think that's very important, that how do you personalize for that customer? How do you just not sell the product, but you sell an emotion, right? Which resonates with the customer, and you build a brand around it. I think that's very important.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. That was very insightful. So I'll stay with you in terms of the next question. You all come from very diverse, backgrounds and organizations. And I think that was the point of the panel as well, the cross-industry perspective, right? But was there one or a trigger of aha moments that happened when you all were talking about customer experience in the organization that made you redefine it as you know it today? So I'll start again with you, Gaurav, and then go in reverse, basically.
Yeah, I think I'll just continue from my previous answer, right? Like aha moment was, the pandemic was aha moment for the food delivery apps, especially when Licious comes into the equation, right? Like how do you build a supply chain which delivers antibiotic residue-free, right? A compliant supply chain where the processing happens in the compliant conditions. You treat the protein to the right temperatures and then deliver end-to-end to the customer doorstep. Yeah. So in Licious also, like most of the protein, like we also invest in farming of that, so that we control the feeding, and we control the whatever the quality of protein we get. So we do investment at the farming sourcing layer also, heavy investments. We also have a lot of AI when it comes to doing QCs at the sourcing, so that we make sure that at the sourcing we negate or we remove the things which we don't want to ship to our customers, and only the high quality stuff goes into the supply chain. Then throughout the supply chain, how do you do end-to-end tracing with respect to right from the sourcing to the quality, the temperature, everything, right? From the processing centers to the dark stores, and then to the last mile delivery partners to the customer doorstep. How do you do end-to-end traceability right from the sourcing to the customer doorstep, something we have heavily invested. So aha moment, if you ask me, pandemic made people conscious about the quality, not just the taste, but what is the quality they are consuming, whether what kind of ethical sourcing has been done, right? People have become aware about these things, and that was the aha moment, because this is one of the first principles on which Licious is based out of, right? That the quality is top priority for us, right? Like there is no debate on quality. We don't compromise on quality. So I think that's an aha moment for us. Yeah.
What I think we learn is that quality means, I mean, the tolerance for low quality is low across all of your industries, right? I mean, in fintech, obviously, you can't afford a failed payment. You can't afford bad meat. For you, just the number of SKUs and even one break in the process of it reaching the customer, etc. So we'll come to maybe summarizing the insights. But yeah, Khilan, same question to you. Was there a specific aha moment or a bunch of them?
So I mean, one very specific one I can relate to, and we still try and live by the premise. Backstory, back in 2014 when we started, India's digital payments market mostly catered to enterprises. There were very few SMEs in the country who wanted to collect, money digitally. Very few, I mean thousands. So it was actually very, very small as a base. And hence the market was catering largely to enterprise. So even if a new small SME comes, sets up a website or a mobile app, to collect money, there was a lot of red tape. It would take 30 days to kind of just get started. So our first insight was, if SME market is going to boom, this thousands will become millions. Then the red tape, if it gets solved, will itself be a massive growth journey for us. And what worked for us is we took this point that this is where the future is heading, the SME market and digital payments will grow. And we worked backwards that if we can actually make this near instant, why does it 30 days? Can it happen in 30 minutes? And the moment we unlocked that, the kind of love we got from our customers was crazy. Yeah. We had customers saying on Twitter, saying, before I got my pizza, I was able to start collecting money, integrate on my website and kind of get live. And what we had to do, the hard part, a lot of times we don't realize is there are 7, 8, 10 things underneath Link that we have to do to make this happen. So it is not easy to do overnight. So it took us 6 months to get this machinery running. To solve for every single part, and then we kept fine-tuning. By the time our competition realized SME market is growing and they also have to solve for it, it would then take years for them to kind of get to this journey, copy and get closer to it, right? So that, in summary for us, speed became that essence, that if we can democratize access to this basic need for, business of all sizes, and speed as a key pivot, that while we have to do high quality, but India in general, all of us as users are not very patient. And hence speed makes a big difference. So for us, the aha moment even today is, while we have very low tolerance for quality, any single customer who has a bad experience is actually tracked to the extent why it happened. There is a detailed diagnosis that happens. Anyone who reaches out to any of us at the organization personally is also being looked at. So every summary for me is that on the low tolerance for quality, metrics often hide the n equal to 1 customer. And what matters is the n equal to 1, the extremes over there, rather than just the average metrics. And on the overall aha moment, for us, it's been speed. The faster we can, ensure that we're out of the way for our customers, the better their lives are.
Awesome. Got it. Same thing, Ruma, in terms of specific triggers. You've been in Unilever also for a very long time, so it could have been a series, in my opinion.
So probably 2 stories to illustrate it, I think, but the 2 points is, one, when you dream something, and second, when you're in a crisis, like you said about COVID. So let me talk about the crisis, then I'll come to the dream for aha moment. We have set up for this entire chain, which is, your trade promotions, forecasting, supplying, manufacturing, order to cash collections, 7 large global hubs, standardized our processes to the extent, it's always a journey, etc. Now, the story goes that we have got, a couple of years ago, riots in South Africa, right? And it was very tough to supply. How do you actually manage to not shut things down? And it was quite brutal, actually, when it was happening in South Africa. So what happened? Because we had this digital transformation, which meant that we had standardized our processes. Canaxis was our technology of choice for planning, as an example, but Chennai took over. So people couldn't come to their offices or be in the hub. In South Africa, Chennai took over. And then many of you might have heard, it is raining quite a bit in India these days. some time later, Chennai floods happened. Who took over? South Africa. So the fact that you can build resilience and to your customer aha moment, not stop operations, is a crisis thing. So the entire package, which is process, tech, people, organization, the roles come together to drive how you can continue to serve. There's a crisis example.
Yeah.
The dream example? The dream example I would give is when you start to think of one with your customers. So with Walmart Mexico, for example, we have a project called Sky Running, where the dream of one supply chain, right, which means that they share point of sale data, Brazil has a football match, so we might have a forecast, but then there are things happening rapidly and changing. And how does that feed into machine learning forecasts? And then we override the short-term supply and respond much faster. So that's something that we are scaling and working very collaboratively. So we really see ourselves working with our customers as one.
Yeah. Awesome. It's very relevant also because I don't think anybody's like the fact that now everyone's cross-functional, global teams, this is a relevant point. I'm going to get into audience questions because we've got 21 questions already. It was 16 the last time I looked down. There's a question from the most upvoted one. I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit. What is the biggest barrier do you think companies face in being able to percolate or transfer customer success strategies down in the organization or across industries, right? So anybody, I think, any volunteers? Anita is, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Is she in the? Yeah. It's, yeah, it's come.
Please add on. Okay. To me, the headline is what I read in one of the Gartner events in Barcelona. 10% digital, 90% people. Yeah. So to the challenge, and I've been working, so I think across industries, and I've asked students of MBA to do this round robin across industries. So to the hardest part is actually adoption and measuring value. Because technology can be implemented in months and weeks. Change takes years in people. Yeah, so that's probably the one that is not very visible like an iceberg, but the one to really go after.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, just to add to this point, right? Like what I feel, and just plus one to that is mindset change takes the most time. I think if you always work backwards towards from the customer problem, that what is the actual problem the customer is facing. So when the customer is, let's say, ordering, what the kind of anxiety happens, right? What if the customer is looking for something and then become out of stock? Maybe it's a tail end of the inventory, but it becomes out of stock. What the anxiety customer goes through, how do you understand that and solve for that, whether placement of inventory through demand forecast or whatever it is, right? Like, but how do you understand working backwards from the customer anxiety, customer needs, customer problem statements, and drives a mindset change that, okay, I'm not shipping features, I'm shipping customer experience. That is the toughest part. The people and process will follow once the mindset change happens, right? But that's the toughest part, that you have to get out of like shipping features versus shipping experiences to the customer. That mindset change, the biggest, I think that's the biggest thing to happen. Right?
Okay, got it. Awesome. One additional and interesting question that's come up is what statistic or I think metric can you use with respect to customer insight, right? To identify which are the use cases to prioritize. Do you want to take that up, Khilan, or should I open it up to the panelists as well?
Yeah. I mean, prioritization for us goes a lot beyond just the metrics. Metrics alone are harder, so it's 2-3 themes where strategy kind of goes into play, right? That what are you trying to achieve, why, where is the market heading in the future, and what are you hearing from your customers or pulse of customer, and some of the behavior you observe through data. So combination of all of that kind of arrives at the themes that we then decide to focus, and we internally then use the OKR framework that kind of sets goals and OKRs for us, and from there we figure what's the best way to kind of achieve these OKRs. So metrics play a part of the role. Where it starts playing a bigger role is when you're looking at iterations and optimizations on something that's already there, right? Then you go very, very deep in the metric to try and understand the why behind the metric. Like if you take on a KPI that, or an OKR or a goal that you want to optimize this particular metric, now the hard part is to know that what are really the next 5 level down levers which actually you need to move for the metric to move. So I don't know if I answered the question. Happy to take a follow-up if there is.
Yeah, sure. Anything to add to?
I have a story to add to it.
Go for it.
Like from the voice of customer, it's very important, voice of customer. So there's a story which goes like this, known as bullet hole theorem, right? Like what happens is during the World War, the planes were coming back to US, right? And people were seeing that there were bullet marks on the front of the plane or on the back of the tail of the plane and all that, right? So wherever they were finding there were bullet marks, they were reinforcing it. So that next time the plane will go in a reinforced state and then can survive for a longer time. But they forgot that what happened to the planes who have not returned, where the bullets were hit. Maybe they were hit at the engine or somewhere else. So a lot of time, the voice of the customer is the silent noise, which you don't hear, right? It doesn't come across as an NPS survey. It doesn't come across as any other metric, which comes very obvious, first class construct, right? Ki NPS survey lenge, customer say feedback lenge and all that, right? But that is not, that's a voice. Sometimes the customer will come and then they will shout at you, right? Or they will give positive feedback at you, but that is outliers. That is not the majority. Majority is where there is a noise, but nobody hears that, right? So how do you drive insights from such kind of noises? How do you understand your customers, right? Is very important. You understand, like, so that's where I was saying, like, how technology comes. Technology need not be there on the face. Technology has to be invisible, transparent to the consumer, become part of the life, right? That's where the technology really does the disruption. So from the technology, how you determine these signals that if there are behavioral pattern in the purchase, so passive aggression, is there a passive aggression situation where the pattern of purchase has changed over a period of time, or there are other signals, or let's say ARPU has dropped for that customer, or the customer is finding the items out of stock of their choices. You collect those signals and then do some prediction on top of that, okay, what is the problem a customer is facing and how would you solve for it? Rather than something which is very visible, right? So I think—
Amazing. Yeah. Very insightful. I think, no, completely agree. And in your case, no news is definitely not good news. So, but we'll come back to that tech bit because I think you did touch upon specific use cases that you talked about. There's a couple more on the tech use cases which I'll weave into the panel. But Khilan, I had one specific question in terms of driving. I have to ask an AI question, sorry. Though that is the remit that was given to me as part of this event. How are you using technology? He touched upon it a little bit, technology, specifically AI, to make sure that it feels you achieve that 90% human touch, right? How do you use that 10%?
Yeah. I think to be candid at the beginning, AI itself is evolving, so we are learning through the journey. It's been year and a half since we've been experimenting, trying out a bunch of problems where we can solve them through generative AI. We'll focus mostly on generative AI. First problem, like everyone, is customer success. So we also started figuring out if we could do customer servicing a little bit through AI and whether that can deliver better quality. Because if it cannot deliver better quality, it's not helpful for us. We don't have a volume problem like consumer companies. For us, it was paramount to be able to deliver better quality. Speed comes into play. And that's where, for us, it took fine-tuning effort to get to great quality. And great quality had a facet of human emotion. I'll go to, this one I think still had an alternate option where something was available without AI. For us, the interesting part with AI is we've been able to deliver experiences were just not possible without AI as the technology. So there was no alternate at all. For example, if our small customer wants to reach to a human account manager to understand, I started that journey, right? To understand what else could I unlock, whether am I taking full advantage of the capability, how do I do it? So construct, think of it as a virtual account manager. There is an AI account manager. You can tell the customer that it's AI, but it is still better there because the customer, in the absence of it, had no choice because it just wasn't financially feasible. Customer wasn't going to be willing to pay that much amount, and we wouldn't afford without the customer paying that much amount. So these became possible because of AI. Another small example is India as a market, just exchanging notes, is the do-it-for-me market. Compared to West, which is very heavily do-it-yourself market. And labor dynamics, purchasing power parity, or per capita income, multiple things play a role to it. But we all as humans who are consuming day in and day out prefer someone to do it for us. We will prefer someone else to book a travel ticket. We'll send a WhatsApp message. A, B, C, D, we'll ideally like someone kind of to do work for us rather than we doing ourselves. So for us, it was important to take use of this insight for our customers and see where AI can kind of become the do-it-for-me layer for multiple jobs to be done of the customer, which again, in the absence of it, there was no alternate. Because the alternate wasn't cost feasible. Customers wouldn't pay for it. India is also a very cost-sensitive market, as we all know. So for us, AI has unlocked 5-7 jobs to be done. Customer service, virtual account manager, onboarding, risk, unlocking value of the product, integrating the product itself, understanding our documentation, almost making the entire journey natural language. We are visualizing a world where possibly 6 to 12 months out, we may not have a website, or a website might just have one box, right? And by the way, the same thing, not just website, KYC form, dashboard, console, the entire product might just be one box, and that one box means now actually all is available on WhatsApp also. That's where our customers sit day in and day out, right? So things are moving to that direction where all of this in a pre-AI world just wasn't humanly possible. Now, the hard part for us is all of this to get to that robust Six Sigma quality, where the customer gets, the value that a human would, at least that much, if not better, but at a significantly lower cost now. So that's where I think we're leveraging AI massively. For us, couple of jobs to be done now have reached the quality which is absolutely Six Sigma. Couple are matching human levels. 2-3 are behind human levels. Oh, wow. So our focus is to kind of move and get most of these to kind of match to human levels and get above it. I think once we are able to, we believe it's going to be transformational. Sure. Because now a smallest of the customer can get the best of the experience that just wasn't possible pre-AI.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. He actually segues into a very important aspect of it, which is your talent, right? You have to get it to a human level, the tech. But then what do you do with your humans as that's happening, right? We're rapidly running out of time, but Ruma, I wanted to come to you. How do you deal or sort of manage a people process sort of transition in the context of all of this, right? And continue to deliver on customer experience?
We call them purple people. Earlier, business would be separate, technology would be separate. Business is red, technology is blue. What if you merge the two?
Love that.
You get purple people. So the point is, and we have a program running where we are actually getting business people to understand tech, tech people to, So coming to your question around with AI or with any other thing, the shift, we talked about mindset, adoption, has to be, take planning for example, right? You can have the best forecast, but if the planner thinks that his number is correct, he will not adopt it. So the question is that how do you make sure that it is A, open box, he understands it. B, you have to, बच्चों के साथ खेले हैं ना आप, देखा है कि एक खिलौना दे दो तभी वो उसके हाथ में जो है वो वापस देगा. तो क्या करना पड़ेगा? All of you have kids. How many of you have kids? All of you, right? So if a 2-year-old is crying, what would you do? एक हाथ से दोगे, एक हाथ से लोगे. Which means, to your question, you have to train them on something new. Which means that in this example, the job of a planner is not to give the number. It is to give the inputs of the number. It is to tweak the inputs that will produce the right output. And that is a shift which has to be made apparent from a change management perspective is all I would simplify it to be.
Awesome. Anything to add to that, Gaurav?
I think they covered beautifully everything. I think the augmentation is the way to go is what I feel. Yeah. Whether it's healthcare, if you see, the doctors are making use of AI or any other tools for assisted decision making, right? Similarly, in tech also, if you see the paradigm, AI is just, we just have to augment AI. Whether it is like demand forecasting, what you talked about, or maybe the quality analysis, if you, like thousands of customers have given feedback, right? Like, how do you understand those transcripts and make sense? So what AI has done is, what I feel is democratize a lot of things, commoditize also a lot of things. So access to data, making sense out of data, that has become very natural to anyone, right? Like with the AI, right? Like in Licious, we are using AI for, let's say, all the customer transcripts which are there. We are putting it through a LLM model, and then like through natural language, we are making sense out of whether, what kind of product-led issues are there, what kind of city-wise issues are there. And it's very natural. We don't have to sit for days to get that kind of a cut comes. We just have to author a natural language query and it happens, right? So I think a lot of data access has become democratized, which is very powerful because now people can make a call with the snap of a finger, right? With the human in loop, obviously, for a lot of these things. And yeah, that's how the world is evolving, right?
We're out of time, but I had one final rapid fire question to all of the panelists. Again, I'll start in reverse order. So Gaurav, I'll start with you. The proverbial gun to your head. What is the one most underrated shift in customer experience today that you think hasn't gotten the attention it deserves? We're okay with repeat answers, huh?
Yeah.
You can copy from each other.
Rapid fire.
Yeah, one word answer.
I failed. I've taken already a lot of time. So, yeah, but I think a lot of people focus on personalization at a personal level, right? Like what I think is retail is moving towards this community-based thing, right? Like people don't want to just buy a product. They want to be part of a cult, tradition. They want social validation. They want content to be consumed. So there is a community feel which has to come into the retail industry where I think the paradigm shift will happen, right?
Okay.
I think for me, the one simple trend is going to be a little bit repeat speed, but the way I articulate is impatience. Our customers are going to get more and more impatient over the next 10 years.
I almost
If we take
answered that
advantage of it,
question. I
then
almost answered that
we're
question.
going to do a good job.
Yeah, awesome.
I have a nice job to summarize the two, which is, but to the first one, I mean, we resonate with that in Unilever as well. We call it desire at scale. So this concept of tribes, not customers, but consumers, you know, people associate with each other, and you've seen the cons about that Vaseline went. Vaseline hacks was a 1 billion hit, right? Because people use it on the dog's noses, to their shoes, and, you know, so the point was this community feeling. The community helps you grow the brand. I mean, and people love this aspect of community. So yeah, building communities, building tribes is big. And the second, he talked about speed. So speed, absolutely. I mean, we are seeing that trend, whether Philippines, Thailand, I've gone to different markets, and this trend of retailers, customers wanting it next day. So the lines between a retailer and a consumer is blurring because uska 10 minute mein delivery aa rahi hai as a consumer, he will want the same from your supply chain at the back. Yeah. You know, because that's the behavior they're used to. So speed and tribe, yes.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I told you the time would fly by. And thank you for taking the time out to be here. Hopefully the audience thought the discussion was insightful. Just a quick summary, I think it's back to first principles thinking when it comes to customer experience. People are still at the core of the shift. Technology, of course, is playing a massive enabling role. And I think the one thing we've taken away is that customer tolerance is mission critical, but also dropping rapidly in the industry. Thank you for taking the time out to be here today.